Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, the 10th of, or the 1st?
The 1st of October.
The 1st of October. I read the numbers wrong. It's Sunday, the 1st of October. It is 8 a.m. and this is the NZ Travel Show. We are here to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. We haven't been here for a wee while. We've skipped 3 weeks right here. So if you have any backlog of questions to ask us about traveling in New Zealand, go nuts. We are here for you. And yeah, we're also going to have a bit of a theme this week as well. But let's begin with Cherie saying good morning. 1 week to go.
Ooh,
1 week
one
away.
Week. Ooh,
That is
I
pretty
think
exciting.
you'll be pretty excited for today's theme, Cherie.
Yeah, she's been asking us to redo the bird because we had a... so spoiler alert, we are going to be doing a theme that we were trying to do before. But we had a big technical difficulty on that one day, and so yeah, we had to skip it. But Sherry was like, "Do it before we come."
So 1 week before you come, Cherie, right to the last minute.
So like a good student, we waited last minute to submit our homework. So
Yes.
here you go. Anthony Comstock is here as well.
Yeah, he says Morena from Rodeo, California. Hope everybody is safe. What does Morena mean, Robin?
Morena it means good morning in Maori, which is the local indigenous language here in New Zealand. All right. So yeah, the way this live show works is that you ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand in the lovely live chat, which is located about right here where Laura is. And yeah, we'll answer all your questions. We are kind of the expert behind New Zealand's largest travel guide called NZ Pocket Guide. So yeah, if there is anything you have doubt on, go ahead. In the meantime, we have a theme for this week. So let's get started with the theme of the week. Alright, so Laura, what's the theme this week?
The theme is all about the amazing native birds that you can see in New Zealand.
So that's right, New Zealand's main wildlife population on land are birds. Because by evolving on islands away from predators, native New Zealand birds are among some of the most fascinating species. So when you're going to be visiting Aotearoa, New Zealand, you will have the opportunity to meet inquisitive birds, colourful characters and hear wonderful bird songs and beautiful melodies. So what we decided to do today is to go over 20 of our, let's say, favorite kind of birds that you are actually likely to encounter when traveling in New Zealand, and just tell you a little bit more about them and tell you where to spot them. So this is what we're going to be covering today. But first, what is Sherry saying? But also, I have a sore throat and a cough that started yesterday. Try not to worry. Okay.
Oh, make sure you take those remedies really hard before coming to New Zealand, and make sure you're fit and fighting for that trip over.
Yeah, make sure you pop in a lot of oranges and vitamin C.
Yeah, get your vitamin intake, you know, honey, lemon drinks, you know, soothe that throat.
Kia ora, says Mark Dodd. How are you doing, Mark?
Kia ora.
Sherry is excited by the theme. And what is Anna saying?
Anna says, hello guys, I'm moving to New Zealand and I've worked with the Kias in Budapest Zoo for 4 years. So excited to see them in their natural habitat. Oh yeah, that's going to be so good. They are amazing to see, especially if you're, you know, doing a road trip through Arthur's Pass National Park. It seems like you can't go through that area without seeing them.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the birds that we're going to be talking about today. Spoiler. I think it's actually the last one on our list, just because it's kind of like a funny way to finish. But it's kind of like the one that we almost guarantee you're going to be seeing in New Zealand. It's hard not to see them if you head
to the South Island.
The South Island, obviously, in the Fjord National Park especially. Sander says, morning guys, how are you? We're doing awesome. Thank you for asking. It's been a long time since I watched one of our live stream, but ever since I got back from my working holiday visa 2 months ago, I'm looking for a way to get back to New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, I feel you. To be quite honest, Laura and I both started our journey in New Zealand on a working holiday visa, so I can feel the vibe right here. Yes, that's pretty cool. And yes, and we also have a Patreon call this week. So we're actually switching from Patreon exclusive live session to actually Google Meet calls where we can all interact together. So it's coming up in about an hour. And yeah, Laura and I are going to be there. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Mark says he's doing well. He's planning his trip next year. So far, your site have been one of the most helpful. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, Mark.
No problem. So this is also kind of a way for us to kind of interact with our readers, Mark. So I think that may be the first time that you're popping in one of those videos. So if you have any questions, go ahead. We're here to help. And we do that weekly at the same time every week.
Anthony says you skipped my thing. Well, Anthony, your message retracted. I saw that it was something to do with Russia, and then YouTube took it off the live chat. So try to reword what you've said, and maybe it'll come up. But yeah, I saw that you did have a message, and it got retracted straight away.
Yeah, I can't see. Yeah, it says retracted. It doesn't tell me why. So yeah. All right, guys. So we'll get started with some birds, and then we'll get back to the live chat. Okay. What do I need to do? Oh yes, I need to do this and that. So let's begin with the first 5 birds that we have for you, starting with Kiwi Birds. So this icon of New Zealand is likely to be seen mostly in captivity. Let's be honest. But Laura, tell us about it.
Yeah, so the kiwi is basically the national icon of New Zealand. You'll see it, originally it was on the emblems of the New Zealand Army, but now you can see it as a symbol for New Zealand on pretty much everything. It's a flightless bird, and as Robin says, it's mostly, you will only see it maybe in captivity, or if you go with a local guide that maybe has tracking technology to be able to find conservation birds that are in the wild. But yeah, otherwise they are nocturnal, they're very elusive, so seeing them in the wild, although they are in some of New Zealand's forests that are protected in sort of conservation areas, it can be very difficult to see them in the wild. Unless you go to Stewart Island, that's probably your best bet of seeing
That's where
them.
we saw all Kiwi birds.
Yes.
So Laura, where did you take that photo on screen?
So this one was taken actually in Whangarei. So they have a place called the Whangarei the Whangarei Bird Recovery Centre, I believe it's called. And yeah, they do have like a few birds in rehabilitation before they are released to the wild.
Yeah. Some of the Kiwi birds are unable to live without alcohol. So yeah, they need rehab.
Yes, thanks for that input, Robin.
All right. Moving on to the next bird that we have for you guys, it's the Kaka, which is a forest parrot.
Yes, this is one of my favorite New Zealand birds. They're quite large. They're quite large parrots. They do look similar to a kea, which we'll get onto a bit later, but these ones live primarily in the forests. Again, you can see them usually in bird sanctuaries, that sort of thing, where they have predator-proof fence. However, we have seen them more increasingly in areas in New Zealand where there is like strong sort of conservation projects where they're doing pest trapping and that sort of thing. Best places otherwise to see them in the wild is in the Fiordland National Park as well as on Stewart Island. They will literally come up to your accommodation and come for a cheeky little, rummage around.
What I find is that
Island.
when they come when you're sleeping, they never go with a melodious kind of little whistle that they do. They just go for the crazy squawk that they do. And then when you're in the forest or something, they usually kind of do some nice little sounds.
Yeah.
But to wake you up, they just choose the most squawking of all their noises. Where do you take that photo, Laura?
This one was taken in Zealandia, I believe. Zealandia is a predator-proof sanctuary in the middle of Wellington.
All right, moving on to a very, very common bird, and it's called a fantail. Guess why it's called a fantail? Oh, by the way, the name in Maori is Pi Waka Waka.
Pi Waka Waka.
Pi Waka Waka.
Yeah, so the Pi Waka Waka are very, very common in New Zealand. This is one that you're highly likely to see no matter where you go, whether you're on the North Island or the South Island. They can be in forests, but you can even see them in some urban areas, usually in parks, that sort of thing. So yeah, they are named because of their fan-like tail, and the way that they move around is very much like acrobatic, moving around. Like instead of flying straight, you will never see a fantail flying straight. Basically, they will
They
dart
don't glide,
around.
do they? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll dart around in all sorts of crazy ways, and they're mainly they're trying to get bugs. They feed on insects. So they're darting around to catch all those flies.
All right. So where did you take this photo of the Pi Waka Waka?
Ooh, I have many photos of Pi Waka Waka, and I have no idea where that one is. It could be our local walk down the river for all I know.
Okay, so no idea on this one.
No idea.
All
on
right,
that
moving
one.
on. All right, next up we have a probably one of the most common beer that you can find in New Zealand. That's the tui.
Yes, there is a local beer named after the famous tui bird of New Zealand. These are medium-sized birds. They look black from afar, but when you get closer, they have a bit of a shimmer to their feathers. They're kind of like bluish.
Yeah, they're like metallic blue a little bit.
Yeah. And they also are very easy to identify by these two little fluffy white feathers under their neck, which is just like the weirdest looking thing.
It makes them look so pretentious. Like this kind of like
what they call a cravat or something?
Yeah, like a cravat from 18th century Downton Abbey.
That's those guys. What's really cool about tui is the sounds they make. They all have different sounds throughout the country. You'll hear in one area they all make a melodic sound. Melodic sound. Yeah. Sorry. In one sort of tune, and then if you go to another part of the country, they'll all have like a different tune. So they all have their own sort of lingo.
But you can still tell that it's a tui because they all sound like C3PO.
Yes.
No, R2D2. Sorry, R2D2, not C3PO.
Yeah, so they have this sort of robotic sort of sound sometimes. They are nectar feeders, so they're usually like sticking their beaks in plants and,
You'll often find them near flax, so if you see flax and the flax are currently flowering, they're really ravenous on this kind of flax.
Yeah, and kowhai trees as well. Yeah. They love a good yellow flower of the kowhai tree.
Where did you take that photo, Laura?
I think that was also Zealandia in Wellington.
No, actually, I think this one is on Wahiki Island.
Okay,
I think I remember that. So this one is on Wahiki Island in Auckland.
Good remembering.
I know, I'm really pleased with this one. Okay, so the next one is me. The robin, also known as the tutuwai in Maori.
Yeah, so the robin in New Zealand is it's not like your European robin where usually they're all red and stuff. These ones are black and they're
wearing red.
Yeah, these ones are black and they're a little bit bigger than say your European robin, and they also have quite long legs. They're quite like elegant with their quite long legs there. These ones are not shy. So if you're walking through the forest and you see one, if you just stop, maybe, you know, ruffle the ground a little bit, they usually will hop really close towards you. So these guys, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the bugs that you've upturned in the soil as you've been walking. So yeah, they're kind of opportunistic in that way, but they're really not scared of humans. So yeah, make friends with a robin while you're in New Zealand. It's pretty easy.
All right, there is 5 more to come in a moment.
All right.
Okay, I didn't ask you where you took that photo, but
that one was in the Kaimanawa Ranges area in the North Island.
all right. Okay, so 5 more to come in a bit. What do we have in the comments? So you guys can ask us all your questions while we are going through you know, birds 5 by 5, and then we move on to you know, we just go back and forth. Yeah. So Sherry says, what are the most common birds to see during the day in Zealandia?
Ooh, I would say you'll almost guaranteed to see a tui.
At the feeding station, you see so
Yeah.
many birds. I mean, if you remember our video, or if you want to watch our video, just type Zealandia and then NZ Pocket Guide, and you see that at some point we just post ourselves at the feeding station. There is everything. There's Kaka,
Yeah.
there's tuis, there's
Robins.
robins. You know, you will even be able to see some takahes. They're not really shy there.
Yeah, the takahe are sort of in an enclosed area, so they're flightless birds. So they have it's a large fenced off area, but because they are just in this one area and they just sort of walk around at their own pace, I feel like most people when they go to Zealandia do see them because they're very easy to see and they're very slow and they just ignore people as well. So they're just walking around, just doing their thing, and people will come up to them and, you know, try and get a photo, and they don't really care.
Just keep walking, but like, you know, they're not really scared of people. Just keep walking at their normal, very slow pace, and they're like, I just can't be bothered by those tourists, and just keep walking. It's really cool. All right. Christina says, Chiara, how is everyone doing? We're doing really awesome. We are glad to be back. I'll be honest with you. It's a bit cold in New Zealand, though, so, you know, we need to warm up that.
We're waiting for that spring weather to start.
I agree. And she says, our trip is now all planned. So a bit like you, Sander, that is saying, since you came back to New Zealand, you are looking to ways to come back again for another bit of a holiday. Christina has already started planning a return to New Zealand pretty much as soon as she left. I think.
Yeah.
I think she was in the plane back on the seat, literally planning what she's doing next. So she said, our trip is now all planned and almost everything is booked. We are planning shark diving. Want to join us? Oh, absolutely. Are you going to do that in Bluff? Yes, I absolutely love shark diving. We did swim with shark in the last 3 weeks, which was really fun.
We do some shark snorkeling in the South Pacific Islands.
Yeah.
Very much smaller than great white sharks, admittedly, but
also we don't have cage or anything like that. We literally just swim with sharks, so yeah. Cool.
She says Barry was planning it, actually. Not Christina, it was Barry. It was all Barry's fault.
Delegate. Don't do the work yourself. You also may be wearing cravat like the Tui bird we were talking about. Just delegate. Sherry says, so I'll see more than one type of robin in New Zealand. Well, you may see the North Island robin, the South Island robin, and the NZ Pocket Guy robin.
Yeah.
So you may be able to see 3 different types of robin, which is crazy amount of robins.
That's a lot of robins for one trip.
Oh, look at Laura saying that with such a depressed face. I feel great. I mean, fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura. Christina says, yes, we are planning on doing that off Bluff, so great whites. Oh, that'd be amazing. Oh, I would love to see some great whites. I have never seen great whites in the wild, and I would love. I love sharks. Oh boy, oh boy.
Gotta love those sharks.
Oh yeah, I do love a good shark. All right, so yeah, as usual, guys, keep on asking your questions, opening your comments, and we'll continue with some more of those beautiful birds.
Some non-sharks. How about some birds?
All right, so let's continue with some more feathery friends, and let's go for number 6, which is wood pigeon or kereru in Maori.
Yeah, so kereru are large pigeons. They are larger than your average sort of grey street pigeon. They are. Did you like that?
Wow, I have no words.
They are, they're quite plump, they're quite big, these guys, and with that, they're a little bit clumsy, so you will see them sort of when they're flying through the forest, they fly a little bit clumsy. They fly very loudly, which, interestingly enough, is a way that they communicate to each other with their noisy flying. But also, as we've learned during our travels throughout New Zealand, that they actually feed on fermented berries, which can make them a little bit, you know, a little bit intoxicated at times. And that also may explain why Kereru are so clumsy at times.
Where did you take that photo, Laura?
This one was taken in Akaroa, actually, on the Banks Peninsula near Christchurch.
All right, so next up on our list, we have another really cool bird, and that is the bellbird, also known as korimako in Maori.
Yeah, so bellbirds are often mistaken for tui when you hear them. They have very, very similar sort of C-P3O vibes when they are...
C-3PO or R2-D2?
R2-D2, ugh. Sorry.
Well, we are really bad nerds today.
Yeah, we're not the greatest of nerds. We're just, fake nerds, I guess. Bellbirds, they sound like R2-D2 they sound very much like a tui, but when you get closer to them, you realize, oh, they're not a tui. So the male ones will have like a nice green plumage, whereas the female ones will be brown and, not something that you'll look twice at probably, but yeah, they're also nectar feeders. You can see them feeding on various flowers and whatnot in the forest.
Where did you take that shot?
That one was near Taupo in one of the forest walks nearby.
All right, next up we have the Nirangiru, which is the Maori... Niru?
Yeah, I think so. I remember someone telling me that it was pronounced Niru, because
Okay,
it sounds like that. It sounds
All
like
right.
like a fire engine or something.
And so that was the Maori name for the tomtit.
Yeah, so tomtit, they're very, very cute. They're very, very small.
Look at him with his baby in the nest.
Yeah, they look like robins, but they're a bit smaller and have very short legs compared to a robin. And you usually see them traveling, mucking around in pairs in the forest. So the male one is like black with a white chest, and the female one is more of a grey colour. We spotted we have spotted them in loads of different forests across New Zealand. They're very common to see, and they often you'll see them flying, coming onto a branch next to you, checking you out, and then flying off and doing its own thing after that. But yeah, this photo, we saw an actual nest and the mum and dad feeding the babies,
that was
which was
cool.
so cute. And we saw this at Washpen Falls, which is it's about an hour or 2 hours away from Christchurch. Its closest town would be Methven.
All right, next up we have the tourist Kiwi bird. It's the Weka.
Yes.
Why do I call it the tourist Kiwi bird, Laura?
Because it looks kind of like a Kiwi bird, as it's a ground dweller. It is a flightless bird. It's a sort of round brown bird, and just because it basically looks like a kiwi, apart from the fact that it doesn't have a super long bill. So yeah, Weka are very common to see on the South Island, although you may see the odd one in the North Island. And they are very cheeky as well. If you leave your bags lying around on the floor, they will definitely come and check it out, have a bit of a rummage, and they're not too shy of people either. So yeah, really nice bird to see, especially as you're traveling around the South Island.
And where did you take that photo, Laura?
I think that one was in near the Oparara Arches near Karamea.
And next up on our list, we have the Silvereye, also known as the pihi in Maori.
Yeah, and also some people will call them wax eye, and that's named after the fact that they have this sort of white circle around their eyes. They travel in small sort of flocks throughout the forest, and you can usually hear them before you see them, all chittering away as they go through in their pack. In their flock, or whatever the group noun is for wax eye. Probably something weird. It always is.
The candle makers.
The candle makers of wax eyes. So they're nectar feeders as well, so you'll see them usually on on flowers, but you'll also see them as it is photographed here. If you just leave an apple outside, as we did in our back garden, you'll see these little fellas come and have a little bit of
That's
a bite.
right. This photo is literally our back garden.
Yes.
All right, so that's 10 now. We'll have some more coming up. Okay, so lots of comments now. Mark says he's going to Milford Sound, but would like to avoid the cruise times when the bus groups arrive. Do you have any sense on when they are? I'm self-driving. Absolutely. So we actually do name that and do actually specify that as a tip. In all of our Milford Sound guides and all of our Milford Sound suggestions, both on the website as well as on our videos on Milford Sound. We actually have a full, like about 40-minute video about all our tips for Milford Sound, so you may want to check it out. But Laura, what are the best, the times to avoid? Okay, the times to avoid, I would say anything between midday.
Yeah, it's more like 11 a.m. time, like. Yeah, 11 a.m. till about 2 p.m.
I was about to say 10:30 to 1:30, but that works as well.
Yeah,
About the
10:30
same,
to 1:30.
So if you avoid that, you should be absolutely
good.
good.
I'd say that's more accurate. Yeah, so any of the morning sailings are really good, and it's usually the morning is a very calm time.
That's the best time, especially if you're sometimes a bit seasick.
Yeah, so it's calm on the water. Usually the weather's calmer, so it's just a different ambience in the morning, and then obviously the afternoon is often just good for those who get a late start to their day, basically.
Cool. Anthony says, as much as I would like to come back to New Zealand, the odds are, unless I won the lottery, it ain't happening.
Yes.
Oh, maybe.
It's not cheap to travel, especially nowadays, and especially since New Zealand is so far away from everywhere else in the world. So yeah, we feel you, Anthony. The flights especially are often one of the most expensive things.
Mark says, and do you have recommended sites for booking accommodations, from motels to holiday homes to B&B types? So on the website on NZ Pocket Guide, we actually do link to whatever you prefer using. So it really doesn't matter, if you use booking.com or Expedia or trip.com, whatever. Just use the platform that you do like and you feel familiar with. And so, yeah, just book whatever you feel like, however you feel it's good. We don't tend to often book like really directly with each of the operators, just because that gives you like a lot of different bills. I like to kind of make one thing where I paid, but it's kind of my way, but it really depends. If you are in the nitty-gritty of planning your trip, Mark, you may want to consider joining us on Patreon, where we actually kind of oversee all your booking and all your planning. We actually do like calls weekly now. So you can ask us your question, but we also share like Excel spreadsheets where you can just log in your trip, and so we can give you some extra tips and everything on all that. It's kind of a lot of fun. Actually, today we're going to be looking at one of our newest members' first attempt at a trip planning, so that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a link in the description for Patreon. Christina says, we got a picture of the wood pigeon in Akara as well, on one of the hydro lines. Oh, that's cool. Anthony retracted his comment. I don't know why all your comments are either getting retracted or deleted, but I hope it's fine.
Because he literally, that last comment was saying, why are you not reading my comments? But then we had just read his comments.
Yeah, we're just a little bit behind. We're just a little bit behind, Anthony.
Yeah.
Sander says, I know you are not allowed to give any advice about visa and related questions, but do you know how hard it is to get a job offer from an accredited employer being outside New Zealand? Yeah, and sadly the answer is not what you want to hear. It's really hard if you're not in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Since you came to New Zealand, you did a bit of a working holiday. You know that New Zealanders are very much face-to-face kind of people, right? So if you're not in the country with the right to work, and you also know that they do things a little always last minute.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the country with the visa ready to work, it's very hard to get yourself a job offer. You can always try, right? Some people are succeeding, but it is very tough. Emmanuel says,
thanks for the live, Robin. We met your father this morning. Do you know this person? Great coincidence. We're planning a 6-month family trip to New Zealand. We are in the field of ecology, so the subject is perfect for us. Oh, great. Glad you're getting something out of this theme of the week.
So if you're planning your trip, there is thousands of articles on nzpocketguide.com, and we also have thousands of videos on the channel, so feel free to browse around And yeah, those shows are all about you asking your questions and us answering them for you to help you make the most of your trip. So happy days.
And Cherie says New Zealand is one of the cheapest for me since it's only 3 hours away
Yeah,
compared
she's in
to the rest
Australia.
of the world. I'm looking forward to my 3.5 hour flight on Monday next week. Yeah, that's not so bad really compared to for us two to get from where we originated from to New Zealand. It was like 12 or 13-hour flights to get to New Zealand. So yeah, basically once we got here, we stayed here. Could afford to get back.
But from recent experience, some airlines are capable of making a 3.5 hour flight a miserable experience nonetheless. So don't worry, this can still be bad because they own those big planes and they decide to strip you of all your humanity. Yes. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that just right now. I'll rant. I only exclusively rant on Patreon. I don't rant in public.
To be continued. Speaking of Patreons, Mature X is here saying Morena Mature. We did get the honor, the privilege of meeting him recently
like 2 days ago.
2 days ago, in his home turf of Tokoroa. So
that was cool. That was
great
fun.
to see you back here, Mature.
We'll start making that a bit of a habit, which is going to be fun. Sherry says, I'm used to at least 8 hours to get somewhere overseas. It's a nice change. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we do have a lot of awesome places to visit, being, in Oceania, some stunning South Pacific islands and all that. I feel like we're not as isolated as people make it to be, you know?
Yeah. Everyone else is isolated from the beauty that is Oceania.
Exactly.
It's not
I like
the other way around.
Glass half full, my people.
Yeah.
The glass half full. Speaking of the glass half full, the beautiful Lawrence is here saying, hello, Laura, Robin, you're back. We are back. How good is that? And hello, everyone. As a reminder to everybody, which is the Patreon right here, Christina, Matura, Sandra, Sherry, Lawrence, Anthony. Remember that we are switching from a YouTube live show for Patreon to a Google Meet call. So you're going to get a link on Facebook and on the Patreon page to join in. So yeah, just as a reminder, it's going to be a call. You don't have to use your mic or your camera. You can just keep watching like you're doing usually, or you can participate. We just want to give you more flexibility. So yeah, as a reminder, that's the first time we're doing that, so that's why I'm kind of reminding it. Sherry says exactly, she's agreeing with us. And Anthony says, don't feel bad. When I came, I took 13 hours and 5 minutes walk with non-stop. Oh wow, so that is
5 minutes walk.
5 minutes walk.
Got to include that walking time.
Matura X says, at least it's not Maori language week. I will have been talking Maori. Indeed. Well, I've been using a lot of Maori words so far in the theme of the week. I'm using the Maori word of every single one of the birds we're talking about. So yeah, making an effort right here. Sherry says, I won't be able to make the first Patreon show, but I'll definitely be there for the one next week. Well, it depends. Depends where you are in New Zealand, Sherry. All right. So, while you guys continue with all your comments, I love how active you guys are. We're going to do 5 more birds. What about that?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, so next up on the list, we have the brown creeper, which is the PPP.
PPP.
Spelled P-I-P-I-P-I in Maori.
Yeah, so this one is a little more elusive in the forests, but you can still see them in many forests around New Zealand. And yeah, they are known for their melodic breeding calls added to the forest soundscape there. So yeah, admittedly, this photo is of someone else's photo because we don't know if we've actually got any photos of them. Usually they come, they go so fast.
We've seen glimpses of them, we know that. We heard them, we know that for a fact, but having taken photos ourselves, we have a couple of photos that we suspect may be that, but since we're not 100% sure what bird that is, we obviously don't want to publish it, so yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they have very high-pitched sounds. You're more likely to hear them in the forest, and if you're lucky, you'll maybe see them as well. They're quite camouflage.
All right, so next up we have a bird called the Mohua in Maori, which is the yellowhead.
Yeah, so as the name suggests, or at least the English name suggests, it has a yellow head. So it has yellow plumage. They're a very small bird as well. They're similar in size to the brown creeper that we just mentioned. Their sort of call is more of a buzzing call. But yeah, these ones you're more likely to see than to recognize their sound. So yeah, keep an eye out for these guys. We've seen them all over New Zealand, both in the North Island and in the South Island. But this photo, I believe, was taken in the Bay of Islands, I want to say. Maybe on Urapukapuka Island.
I think you're correct, actually.
Yeah.
Nice one. Okay, so the next bird that we have for you is a bit more of a rarer one, and it is the Saddleback, which is also the Tieke in Maori.
Yeah, so these ones, we've actually seen quite a lot of them in New Zealand, especially...
So why were you using
I
one of our
know,
photos?
that's what I was thinking. I know I've seen lots of saddlebacks, but we haven't taken any photos of them, and I don't know why. Or at least I can't find any of ours. So yeah, saddlebacks, the male ones have this sort of, have this literally because they're named Saddleback, because it looks like they have a saddle on their back, right? They have this sort of red...
This brown shape, like brown reddish
yeah,
shape.
it's brownish reddish on their back, and they also have these two sort of little, I don't know what you would call them. There's probably a proper term for these little waddles on the side of their beaks. Kind of like a turkey, but on the side rather than on their neck. But anyway, yeah, so these are the male ones that you can see on screen, and then the female ones don't look quite as extravagant. They kind of look a little bit normal, and they have less of that saddle on their back. They just kind of look like a normal bird is all I could say. I'm sorry to make these birds feel so weird and crazy. But anyway, yeah, saddlebacks. We've mostly seen them on island sanctuaries where they sort of have like predator control on the islands, and they are very well protected from outside pests. So we've seen them a lot on Rangitoto Island in Auckland. We've also seen them on one of the islands in the Marlborough Sounds, which the name is escaping me right now. But yeah, if you're in one of those island sanctuaries, that's more likely. Is that what it's called? Maybe it is, yeah. Motuarere. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so island sanctuaries, that's where you want to go if you want to see a saddleback. Also, Tiritiri Matangi, I'm pretty sure there's someone there as well.
Indeed. All right, moving on to the Torea Pango in Maori, which is the Oystercatcher.
Yeah, so these are very commonly seen on the beaches of New Zealand.
And they're always 2x2s.
Yeah, they're always in pairs, which is very cute, but they're also very defensive of their area, of where they're nesting, or maybe where they've got young that they're protecting. So usually when you get a bit close, they'll start making noises and being like, go away, or running away from you. So usually they're best enjoyed...
Is that your impersonation of their call?
Go away.
Go away, go away.
Yeah, so they're best enjoyed from afar, and if you do see oystercatchers, it's also good to basically don't approach them, because if they are nesting, then they usually have eggs that sometimes can be under the sand, so you don't want to be standing on them.
It's not like they don't really dig them under the sand, but there's sometimes a small layer of sand over it, and it's easy to miss them.
Yes, exactly. It can be easy to miss, so very much a bird to be enjoyed from afar, but you will see them very abundant on the beaches of New Zealand, all the way from the top of the North Island all the way to the bottom of the South Island. And you'll also see also in Stewart Island as well, and you'll also see there's different subspecies of oystercatcher. So you will see ones that are fully black, you may see ones that have like a bit of white on their plumage as well. So yeah, also another fun fact about them is that they're known to lead predators away with a little act they do, which is called like the broken wing display. So they'll look, one of the pair will look like they've got a broken wing and sort of look vulnerable to drag predators away from their nest, and then then they act as a decoy. And
then they just fly off. Very cheeky bird.
Very cheeky.
All right, Laura is the right old ornithologist right here. I love it. Okay, moving on to the next one, and we have the grey warbler, which is the Ruru in Maori.
Yeah, so these are very common to see.
Oh, sorry, why did you take the photo of the previous bird? Sorry, I just kind of.
I think it's either in the Bay of Islands or on Ulva Island just off the coast of Stewart Island. So I think this one might be the Bay of Islands.
All right, back to the grey warbler, which is the Ruru in Maori.
Excuse me, I have a bit of a tickly throat. So yeah, the grey warbler, or Rio, is another very small bird. It's, as the name suggests, it's grey. Nothing Nothing too appealing in like when you see it.
I have a grey warbler community right here, ready to pounce on you.
I mean, when you see a small grey bird, you probably don't look twice. You're just like, oh, there's another bird. But it's another one with some catchy melodies that you'll find in the forest, and yeah, they have dull colouring. I feel like I'm being so mean
you've been
to the grey
dissing that poor
warbler.
bird. Wow.
But yeah, they are said to have different dialects across the country, so they'll have different sounds that they make depending in which region they're located. You know, just like us humans, really. So yeah, I mean, maybe the grey warblers aren't so different from you and I.
Wow. So, very uninspiring bird, I guess.
Not much to say on the grey warbler. Sorry, grey warbler. And you know, the photo, we did take a photo of that grey warbler, but I have no idea where it was. It was that forgettable. I'm so sorry.
The one that we had on the one that we had on screen actually was from Wikipedia, because our photo, we just changed it recently, but there is newer photos on the link in the description of this video.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right, there is 5 more to come really soon. In the meantime, let's go back to the live chat before Laura keeps on dissing that poor grey warbler yet again. Okay, so Macho X says, did you make a coffee? Yeah, we're making coffee for the Patreon show. That's what we do, tradition. We have traditions, we like to stick to it. And he also asked Robin, I've seen 3 yellow cars that you like. No, it's not for me, it's for Rick. So Rick is one, so to catch up everybody, Rick is one of our Patreon member. He's coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa and will purchase a used vehicle in order to make his way around New Zealand. And we did look during one of the Patreon kind of live show exclusive thing that we did. We actually did look at the used car website in New Zealand and look at what was on offer for his budget and just talked about options there. And I've decided that he needs a yellow car. For some reason, I got really attracted by one yellow car. And I was like, mate, you're going to buy a yellow car.
I like them.
So yeah, so he's going to have to buy a yellow car. And Sherry says that next Sunday will be her last day before she leaves. Oof, do you have some last minute tips? Chips, last minute chips. Wow, we're both losing our marbles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last minute tips for Sherry. Well, I'll maybe prepare some for next Sunday.
Next Sunday, what's going to be the theme? Oh, next Sunday we're going to be talking about waterfalls, so that may be good for you.
Yeah, there's always some last-minute waterfalls you can squeeze into your road trip itinerary, because they're always the small things to break up the drive.
Yeah. All right. So, Matthew X says, was it like that yellow car here in Tokoroa? Yeah, they were similar
in
to
its
that.
colour.
What's this very weird shaped car? PT Cruiser. That's the shape of that car that we were looking at in yellow in Tokoroa. All right, let's not diss the grey warbler no more, and let's move on to some more birds. What about that? What about we do 5 more? The last 5 actually. The last 5. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Okay, the last 5 birds start with the kakariki, which is the New Zealand parakeet.
Yeah, so kakariki in Maori literally means small parrot. So we saw the kaka, which was the large parrot earlier in the list, and this is the kakariki. Yeah, so these are very, very cute birds, and they usually, there's different subspecies. There'll be like the yellow-crowned kakariki, which will have a yellow head. There'll also be the red-crowned one, which is the one that we have on the photo with the red head. And they make very screechy sounds, like
very high-pitched.
Yeah, they're like manic laughter. In the
The
forest.
dissing starts again.
You just hear them just like crazily laughing as they fly through the forest. But they're very cute. They're ones that you will, you can see them in the wild in, again, heavily sort of predator-proof areas where they'll have like trapping and that sort of thing. So you'll find them in island sanctuaries, you'll find them in conservation areas, or even if you're lucky in some of the forests where they have like pest proofing actions in place. But yeah, they're just cute little birds, and they're little parrots. What more can I say? They're really cool.
Where did you take that photo, Laura?
I think that one was on Ulva Island, which is an island sanctuary just off the coast of Stewart Island.
Alright, so next on our list, and we deserve a like on this video just for trying to pronounce this, is the Pipi Faroroa, which is the Shining Cuckoo. That was the Maori name for the Shining Cuckoo.
Yes, admittedly, this is one that we haven't seen.
No, we haven't been able to see.
It's also it's a bird that you can find across the South Pacific. They do migrate, so they are found all over the South Pacific. And as a lack for a better word, these birds are dicks. So
What? No, beep, what? They are not nice birds. They are parasites. They have parasitic behaviors.
Yeah. So what these little guys do is they go and find a nest of, like, say, I think yellowheads or brown creepers or grey warblers that we mentioned. They'll find their nests and they'll just lay a little egg there. They'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna put an egg here, an egg there, egg everywhere, and then basically the chick is hatched and raised as part of the other crew.
Yeah, and quite often the chick is actually has behaviors of like pushing the other chicks of the bird itself off the nest, so like that he's been fed by a different species. So it's kind of like basically drop your egg and get somebody else to take care of your kid and raise it for you.
Yeah,
it's kind of
I don't know how people feel about that.
Well, we know how you feel about it now. I'm gonna have to do some beeping.
So yeah, this mother that can't even raise her own children, she just goes and like says like, you look after him now, you look after her now, and yeah, I mean, some of the birds don't have it, and then the other birds forget about their own offspring and end up raising another bird that's like, why don't you look like me? There's something's wrong here. But yeah, Shining Cuckoos, what can I say? They're pretty crazy.
Wow, Laura has very strong feelings about the Shining Cuckoo. All right, well, let's move on to maybe a less controversial topic, I guess.
Yes.
And let's move on to the Rifleman, which Maori name is Titipunamu.
Yeah, the Titipunamu. They're so cute. I feel like my opinions shine through. I know I realise how opinionated I am about birds, apparently. So yeah, the Rifleman, or the Titipunamu, they're like little ping pong balls. They're so small.
They're very, very, very small.
Yes, and they only weigh about 5 grams, which is like nothing. It's like your scales can barely pick that up.
Using the better scale.
Yeah. And yeah, for people that don't use grams for weighing, that is 0.18 ounces. So yeah.
And for people that don't use the word not, it's 0.18 ounces.
Oh, 0. Yeah. Lots of translations having to happen here. But yeah, the Riflemen, they are found, again, both on the North Island and the South Island. They're in the forests, and they're very, very tiny. So the smallest bird that you'll see, that will be a Rifleman. And they also have a bit of a nice little call into the forest. We did see one outside of our back garden the other day, which was really cool, and it was making all those crazy sounds. It's probably like, I'm so far from the forest, where the hell am I? Oh my gosh. That's what I imagined he was saying. But yeah, the one we saw on this photo right here is in the Mount Aspiring National Park on the Rootburn Track, which is one of the great walks of New Zealand.
All right, so moving on to the Ruru, which is morepork, a bit of an owl.
A bit of an owl? No, it is a full owl. It is one of the last remaining native owl species in New Zealand. I think it's the only remaining owl species in New Zealand, actually. And yeah, they're a dwarf owl, so in other words, they're just a very small owl. They're very cute. Unfortunately for us, we haven't seen them in the wild. We've only seen morepork in like native bird recovery centres. So this one we have a photo of. This is in Wingspan, which is the National Bird of Prey Recovery Centre in Rotorua. But we've also seen them in the Tiano Bird Sanctuary. So they have they have some enclosures there where they put birds in rehabilitation there as well. And yeah, they're very small, they're very cute, and apparently they're named after the sound they make, or at least they're... Yeah.
We've heard them a lot in the wild. We just haven't been able to spot them, because also when you hear them, it's usually at night, and it's much harder to spot them, so it's kind of like catch-22 I hear, where it makes it quite hard to spot in the wild.
But if anyone spotted one in the wild, let us know. Our neighbour has. and he
Yeah.
told us about it.
All right, and last on this list we have the Kea, which is an Alpine Parrot.
Yes, it is the world's only Alpine parrot. It's quite a large-sized parrot, and it's only located in the sort of mountainous regions of the South Island. So, in particular, we've seen them in Arthur's Pass National Park. We've seen them along the roads to Milford Sound, and yeah. They are very cheeky. They're very intelligent.
Oh, here's another opinion, guys. Laura's going to diss that bird yet again.
I'm not going to diss them. They're cool. They're very intelligent. We've heard many really fun stories of people hiking, and they will be like perched on top of huts where people go hiking, and then they stay overnight in a Department of Conservation hut, and they will drop stones on people's heads when they're going in and out of the hut.
And if you go on the article, which links in the description, actually, we have a different photo than the one shown on screen, because this one's a little more flashy, you know, like nicer. But we have a photo of ours where you literally see them pulling off the rubber of vehicles, because that's what they're really well known to do.
Yes.
They just hang out in the parking lot, and they're just gonna get the rubber of the seal of your door, or they're just gonna try to get some of your windshield rubbers. You know, they're just gonna take them away and just be like, well.
And they're another one that if you put your bag on the ground, they will run up to it and start, you know, picking at it and stuff. They're just, you know, you got to be careful around these guys. And in terms of their calls and stuff, weirdly, they sound like cats. That's what I think. They meow. They're like meow like that. They're kind of weird, but
weird
in a good way.
Wow, another dissing.
I love Kia. They are one of my favorite birds.
Indeed. All right. So that was the 20 birds that you can easily find in New Zealand. We'll give you a few bird watching tips before letting you go. And after that, well, you can move on to planning your trip to New Zealand. All right. Let's go back to the live chat for now.
Where are we at? I think we're at Mark saying, had fun calling them when I was a kid. Calling to them,
Ruru,
sorry. Yep, the owl. Oh, that's nice. And Christina says, we would like to get a picture like that with the colours underneath, maybe on the way to Milford Sound.
Yeah, so that's why we use this one on the show. Like the one we have on the video is more like one of them kind of currently being cheeky, which is the easiest kind of photos to take.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll only see like their colours underneath them once they're in flight, and if you're underneath them, or you know, on the side. So yeah, usually what you'll see of a Kia when it has its wings in is just like it has like a green plumage on the outside.
All right, and Sherry says, do campervan companies have insurance against Kias? No, there is no insurance against Kias, sadly. You've got to deal with them. All right, so now we thought we'd go over a bunch of tips for bird watching in New Zealand. Just to kind of slowly wrap things up for today. We only have about like a few minutes left. So let's go ahead. So first up, researching the different bird species which are in New Zealand. Basically, watching this video is a really good start. So you know what to expect, you know what to look for as well, and you know what to listen for. So yeah, that's quite good. Next up, we have timing. So it's quite important to know that there is different bird activities depending on the type of the day as well as the seasons. But as a general rule, early morning or late in the day are usually the two best times to see some bird activities around the country. Another good way to make sure that you see a lot of different kind of birds, because there is much more birds obviously than what we are talking about here, such like spoonbills and herons and shags and all those kind of birds as well. But it's basically visiting diverse habitats from the coastlines to the depths of the forest to the mountainous areas. You'll be able to see a lot of various and different type of birds. If you're a really keen ornithologist, bring yourself a pair of binoculars. You know that birds can be quite elusive, and using binoculars will allow you to be able to get a better glimpse onto those animals without getting too close and scaring them away. Next up, obviously, staying quiet and being patient is really important when looking for birds. There's nothing wrong with sitting for a good 30 minutes somewhere during your walk along the path. Don't stray off the path, especially when they're marked path by the Department of Conservation, but along the path, there is a lot of very quiet walks in New Zealand, and it's likely that you'll see no one else, so nobody else is going to disturb the birds. And if you just stay and be quiet, you may have some birds coming close to you. There is also a lot of field guides and apps that are available. There is iBird New Zealand, for example, which is a bird identifier. So, you know, getting yourself some research materials may be a good idea. Backtracking is a good thing to do when you're walking around during a hike. So when you walk, you sometimes disturb the ground underneath your feet, and therefore you disturb some birds and basically do the digging work for some of the birds. So as you hike, maybe sometimes just stop, walk backward a little bit and look at the path. Quite often this is the best way to spot tomtits and North Island robins. You can also join local birding groups. You'll be able to find them on Facebook. There's a lot of different birding groups, and the locals will be happy to take some people out and go bird watching. Make sure that you do respect the wildlife and the environment. Stay on the designated this word here. Don't touch any of the young birds. Don't disturb the nests. You know, it's just a bit of a warning. You know, it's maybe not a tip, but it's something that you need to be aware of. And obviously don't get too close to the birds. And if you are bringing some wrapped food, take the wrapper with you. There's so many videos of us picking up the wrappers. Don't do that. And finally, keeping a journal, it can be also really good. Noting what you've seen, when you've seen it, and how many of them you've seen. This can even be logged in some of the Facebook groups, as well as sometimes with Department of Conservation, depending on what kind of birds you are seeing, and that will help the local conservation effort. So why not joining in and doing your part to keep those birds safe? All right. That's pretty much it for us and bird watching in New Zealand for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hit like, subscribe, hike New Zealand, and check out NZ Pocket Guide for more. Christina is right. Don't feed the birds too. That's important, especially the kea. Don't feed the keas.
Yes, they are wild birds. They need to learn to, you know, feed themselves. And once that behavior gets disturbed, they may rely on people to feed them forever, and then that can lead to a whole bunch of problems.
Indeed.
We don't want. Anthony says, stay safe, but I'm here until the end.
Yeah, he's our producer right here telling us that we're basically almost done right now. And that's true. We only have about 3 minutes left. So if you have one last question to sneak in before next week, go nuts.
Better do it quick.
Aside from that, well, nzpocketguide.com is available 24/7 with thousands and thousands of tips for you guys. We do have some videos coming up during the week, and we will do another live show, another 1 hour with you guys, literally next week yet again. And the theme next week is going to be waterfalls in New Zealand. We're going to go over between 10 and 20. Well, we never really know how many we want to do, but you know, when we prepare, we're like, okay, let's do some more. And yeah, we'll talk about the best waterfalls to visit in New Zealand, because well, it's hard to visit New Zealand without seeing a waterfall, isn't it? It's hard to visit New Zealand without seeing birds.
Yeah.
But it's even harder to not see waterfalls.
Yeah, there's plenty of waterfalls. And, you know, by the end of your trip, you'll be like, I don't want to see another waterfall.
Oh, another raw opinion. Very opinionated today. You shouldn't take time off. You just get all your opinions out, and your journalistic mind is just kind of...
it's completely gone.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Wow. So, yeah. All right. So, since you are so into opinions, out of those 20 birds, what's your favorite? And why is it the Shining Cuckoo?
It's not the Shining Cuckoo. It's, I think it's the Kia.
The Kia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the fact
really
that
cool,
they drop stones on hikers' heads. I find that very funny.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have to say, it's just this endearing encounter that we had with the tomtit.
Yeah.
Which just made me love tomtits so much. Like, we were able to be super far away, but still see them going back and forth to the birds, seeing the couple behaving and everything.
Seeing the little babies' beaks coming out of the nest.
Like, so nice. That was just so amazing. So, yeah. If you guys want to watch us kind of discovering that, you can type Washpen Falls on Google and on YouTube, and you'll be able to find a video of us seeing that and just discovering it and be like, oh my, that's so beautiful. Wow.
And if you want to see another funny bird video, if you type in West Coast Treetop Walk on YouTube and check out that video, you can see some kereru, some wood pigeons literally landing on a branch. The branch breaks underneath them
because they're so fat,
and then they kind of fall. But don't worry, They don't plummet to their death. They do have wings.
Thanks for the spoiler, Laura. All right, and Sherry says she found our notes on the itinerary, which is awesome. All right, we are going to hop on Google Meet to hang out with our Patreon subscribers for an hour. We see everybody else next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.